Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Rory. My name's Suzy, and yes, Transmit Startups is where I'm from. And I'm going to talk to you today about starting your business the right way. So, when I say that, it tends to conjure up images for people that I'm going to be talking about market research and business planning and being prepared and organized. And that is absolutely not what I'm going to do today because there are lots and lots of technical things that are really good about starting a business, but there's also quite a lot of information out there to help you do that. Transmit Startups, the place that I work, is the UK's #1 provider of the government startup loan scheme. That's a scheme that's specifically there to help people start businesses with access to affordable finance backed by the government at a guaranteed interest rate when it's much, much harder to get that from commercial lenders. As part of the work that Transmit do, we evaluate lots of business plans, we look at financial forecasts. None of that really helps us um, tell for definite whether or not a business will be successful, because what makes a business successful is the soft, squishy bit that's actually involved in running the business. And that, my friends, is you. So, despite having helped over 14,000 people start their businesses over the last decade, actually, what Transmit comes out of that with is not necessarily some magical potion for what makes a business successful in the technical planning side of things. What we've learned is a little bit about types of people and how to harness the power of who you are as a person. So that's what we're going to be talking through today. It's a really short, sharp session, a little bit of me and a few sort of videos to give you some more guidance and information. Lots of technical information in the UMi SAT NAV business starting a business bundle for you as well. But we're going to get right into it today and have a look through all of the different things that will help you make a decision about starting your business. So let's get started. If we can have a look at these beautiful slides of mine. Um, the first thing that we're going to look at is getting inside the mind of an entrepreneur. So we immediately go to the brain, the nice soft and squishy bit on the inside of everybody's head. We've all got one of these. Not everyone's is covered in quite as many paint splashes as that one is. That's clearly my brain. My brain is more paint than that, but never mind. We all have two sides of the brain. One side of the brain is all logic and analysis and algebra and all of those types of things. The other side of the brain is where your creativity and your intuition live. Those are the bits that actually help you to come up with the ideas, make decisions about progressing with things, getting things done. And the technical side is what keeps you right and keeps you kind of on guard. It isn't the case, though, that we can say everyone with a brain that leads with one side or the other is more likely to be successful in this type of business, because it's not about what's in your brain so much as how you use that and how it kind of manifests itself. So, actually, although we primarily have a few different types of brain in the world, what studies have shown looking at different types of entrepreneurs is they generally fall into one of four camps. As I talk you through these, have a think for you about where you think you might sit. So these are our four types of entrepreneur. I'm going to start in the bottom left with the traditionalists. They're an interesting breed because they're not really keen on leaving the security of a conventional job and tend not to be fantastically excited by innovation and brand new things. Traditionalists, potentially people like your accountants. They're people who take an existing business and choose, for whatever reason, to do it their own way. They're usually really well researched, really well planned, and executed with a degree of precision that NASA would be impressed with. So these are people who are not necessarily led by the creative part of their mind, but they are all about the detail, crossing those T's, dotting those I's, and making sure that things are done exactly right. A traditionalist would choose to start their own business because they might not see the results that they want to see for themselves as an employee. They might not feel that sense of job satisfaction from working for somebody else, and nothing will annoy those people more than those around them who slack off and don't kind of pull their weight. So that's your traditionalists, and that tends to be their kind of motivation. If we scooch along to the right-hand side of the slide there, we're looking at improvisers. Improvisers are actually the least likely to start their own business purely because they tend to be really casual, flexible, freewheeling, fun-loving types. And actually, putting everything together in order to really make it happen happens less often in this particular group, mainly because career advancement tends not to be at the forefront of their minds, and they're more interested in sort of hobbies and friends and families. Long range planning isn't necessarily a big thing for them, but actually, what they do want is freedom and a bit more fun and a bit more action. These are the types of people who might choose to start their own business, not necessarily because they've got some big desire or big drive to, but more because they find that traditional employment just doesn't suit them. It doesn't give them a huge amount of reward, and it definitely doesn't give them the kind of flexibility that they might be interested in. So improvisers will be working in companies that are based on fun and adventure, travel countries, travel companies, outdoor adventure, children's shops, those types of things. On the top left-hand side there, we've got our idealists. Now, they won't necessarily think of themselves as a business person because idealists are not driven by money, power, success. Their motivation comes from their values. So idealists tend to do value-led businesses, social enterprises, community interest companies, those types of things. They will step away from the corporate world because they're looking for some form of meaning or purpose. They're really convicted in, they've got a deeply held conviction in what they're doing. And they're often sort of intensely interested in expressing themselves and being creative. So they're not usually looking to lead huge organizations, but that can happen to them more by chance than anything else, because those value-led organizations increasingly in the world are really being considered important to how everything works. So idealists more and more with that sort of strong focus on delivering those values are getting out there and becoming more and more businesses. And I've left the innovators to last because the innovators are typically the type of person that we do think of as soon as we think of the word entrepreneur or someone who starts a business. Innovators are often also inventors. And if you've ever watched an episode of Dragon's Den, you have seen innovators. You've seen lots of innovators. Innovators create new things, whether that's inventing something brand new that's never been seen before, or taking something that already exists and finding a new way of doing it. They're the people who reinvent wheels. They find new, better, more interesting ways of doing things that already exist. So they often work in technology, in science, in the finance sector, and they're okay with making money, and that's fine. Like, that's a big part of business. They don't need a huge amount of encouragement to start a business. It's usually there in the forefront of their mind. What they might need more help and support with is implementation, and the practical element. And so those people can do best when they're working with someone who sits just on the other side of that diagram and is maybe more of a traditionalist. That relationship could be a little bit tricky, but I'm sure they'll make it work just fine. All of those people could start completely different types of businesses, but actually they could do very similar things. And really, it's not about the type of business, but it's largely about the execution and the way that all of that stuff comes together. So we're going to take a quick look at a little video now, which is going to look at a product and lots of different ways of executing that product. So as you watch this little video, just 3 or 4 minutes, have a think about which type of entrepreneur could be doing the different versions of the business idea that we're about to see. This video comes from Transmit's sister company, Smarter. Smarter has a big sort of learning element to it. We do lots of training and micro courses around starting and progressing a business. You will see a slightly different version of me in this in the Smarter video as well. So let's take a little look at this. Time to get a little creative and to think outside the box. This is something that's really useful to do every now and then with your business idea. Sit back with a cuppa, a notepad and pen, relax and start thinking about all of your business options. For example, let's look at this product. What is it? What does it do? Okay, it's an umbrella. You can probably think of one use for it, but what else can it be used for? Let's start with its traditional use, keeping you dry and out of the rain since its invention in 1852. It could be used to keep the sun off you, something very popular with ladies at outdoor events on sunny days. This was the original use back in the days of ancient Egypt for royalty, so we have them to thank for this item. There are so many pretty fabric ones out on the market now for exactly this reason. Do you suffer from ornithophobia, a fear of deadly pigeons? Your umbrella becomes your best friend and trusty shield. What about a walking stick for people who might have forgotten their actual stick? Clearly not a compact brolly, but a good long sturdy umbrella could really work a treat. Find yourself on a golf course without a club? No worries. Get your brolly out for a hole-in-one. On that note, perhaps it's better suited to crazy golf. Short on outside space, get creative and store the kids' footballs inside your umbrella. Perfect for indoors and outside. Not looking your best and bump into someone you'd rather not face? Go camouflage mode and avoid those awkward conversations. Find yourself walking through a field while dodging a barrage of balls? No need to fear. Shield yourself from any angle with your trusty companion. What about when you're relaxing at the park on a sunny day? No use for your brolly, you might think. Think again. Suddenly you're the victim of a robbery. Think quickly, grab your brolly and bam, you've got them hooked. Grab your bag and get on with your day. Anyway, you get the point. We know some of these examples might not be the most realistic, but the point is that we can take umbrellas for granted, like so many other products out there. However, if you sit and take time to think creatively, your product, just like this umbrella, could have so many benefits you've never even thought of before, and therefore the potential to attract loads of new customers. Thank you to past Suzy for that. You can leave your Oscar nominations in the discussion forum. She did actually hook me by the neck with the handle of that umbrella. I can confirm, really good for defending yourself from robbers. Let's think a little bit about what kind of person self-employment suits. And to do that, we're going to look a little bit at the pros and cons of self-employment and how those might manifest themselves for you. So let's start with the pros and the good side of things. Independence. So that's often a really big pull of self-employment for people, being able to be out there and be on your own, being in charge of everything that you do for yourself, managing your own schedule, not necessarily having to answer to other people for the things that you do apart from your clients. Job satisfaction. I can't describe to you how different it feels when you are working for yourself, as I do and have done several times before, and you're able to do the things that really make your heart sing and really make you happy and excited and enthusiastic. And you get to see the results of those work with other people and how that actually impacts them and their lives. And you get that live customer feedback that's about you. It really is unlike anything else. Salary prospects, as hard as you work, you're working for yourself and you're working to better your own life. You're working and you see the financial rewards of that yourself. So no element of that money, with the exception of all of the stuff that goes to HMRC, no element of that money is going to pay anybody else's salary. So there is far more of a direct correlation for you between the harder you work, the better off you can be as a result of that. And the amount of variety that there is involved in everything that you have to do, you will never find, no matter what kind of business you run, you will never find that you have to be doing the same thing over and over again every single day, because alongside doing whatever the function of your business is, you need to generate your own customers. You need to think about your invoicing and finance. You need to make sure that you're on the right side of all of the rules and regulations with everything. And whilst not all of that might sound really like the thing you desperately want to be doing, the variety and the knowledge that you get from all of that side of things is really rewarding. Fairness, look at the things that are less good. Some of these can be real tipping points for people and help them to decide whether or not this is something that's going to be right for them. Lack of benefits. There's no holiday pay when you're self-employed, which is a bit of a sore realization. You have to make all of the accommodations and all of the plans and everything for yourself upfront, so that when you get into everything, you are putting 20% of all of your income to one side to pay your tax bill at the end of the year. You are making a provision so that you do get to take some time off, and you don't have to just have no income come in when that happens. But there's no, you don't have an employer contributing towards your pension. You don't have other people there to sort of cover for you and offer you some support if there's something else sort of going on in your life that day. Working on your own as a sole trader can definitely be isolating. And if you take nothing else away from this today, I would really, really encourage you to think about how you can break that isolation. Because even if you're quite a solitary person, and I really enjoy working by myself, working on my own suits me quite nicely. It can be very difficult to go through some of the challenges that are involved with owning and operating your own business without anybody else's perspective on those things, and it can make you feel like you're quite on your own. The unpredictability of the work. So sometimes you might find that you're rushed off your feet with loads of requests for things. Sometimes you might find that that's not the case and you're having to work harder for all of the stuff that comes in, which links into those long hours. You're in far less control of the hours that you work, as counterintuitive as that may seem. So it's fine to say I'm only available between 10 and 3 every day. But the reality of that often is that in order to generate the paid work that you need to work outside of those hours as well. So those are all the types of things that you need to really weigh up for yourself. What's right for you? What's really going to make a difference to you? And what sort of aspect of that works really nicely? Those long hours can really impact your work-life balance, and that isn't something to be underestimated. In my opinion, it isn't talked about anywhere near enough, because the balance, especially in the early days of starting a business, but actually, especially for those innovators or those idealists among us, the work-life balance is really challenging, because it's so easy to just go, I'll just do that little bit more, I'll just take on that little bit extra. There is no off switch. You're working for yourself. Someone will take that off switch off you altogether, how rude, and leave you just having to handle things by yourself. Your work-life balance can consist of life existing around you while you try and work in the middle of it. And that doesn't suit everybody's lifestyle. It doesn't suit everybody's personal circumstances. So really something to make sure that you have carefully considered. In the interest of balance, this is a really accurate representation of the first time I received an email from somebody that said, absolutely, we'll happily pay you to do that thing you want to do. There isn't really another feeling like it. And I don't want to sound as if I'm trying to warn off all of the bad things, because starting a business for all of those types of entrepreneur really does consist of a balance of things. But don't underestimate how vitally important this bit of it is and how much of a rush you can get from it, because for all of the difficulties involved, I would do all of it again in a heartbeat, because I get to feel how this feels when you win that work and when you do that work for a customer. It really is second to none. So when you go through all of that, I think now is the time to start thinking about, okay, so maybe this is right for me, but what about my business idea itself? We are going to listen to some words from Tracy from Smarter. Tracy is one of our trainers, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about looking at evaluating that idea.
What sort of business should you start? What sort of business suits you? Before you start Googling things like the best small business ideas and business ideas that can make you rich, you need to think about what sort of business you want to run. There's no point choosing a business idea and not enjoying it. Here are some questions to get you thinking about the best business ideas for wonderful, one-of-a-kind you. So, what are you interested in? Do you have a passion for crafting? Is it animals, cooking, helping people? Think about the things you love. Maybe you should explore business ideas with pets or home business ideas for crafters. Doing something you love is a rewarding way to run a business. Are you a lone wolf or pack leader? Do you want to work for yourself or by yourself? Or do you dream of building an empire and employing others? This will determine whether you are looking for a home business idea, an online business idea, or a business idea that has room to grow into something bigger. What skills do you have? Think about the skills and experience you have from past jobs. Do you have specialist skills like hairdressing or accountancy? Do you have transferable skills like administration and customer service? Choosing a business idea that matches your skills and experience can make the process of starting a small business much easier. Where do you see yourself? When you picture your dream life as a business owner, where are you? Are you working away at your kitchen table? If so, there are plenty of home business ideas you could explore. Or are you serving customers behind a cafe counter or from a street food truck? There are lots of business ideas with a van. Or you could set up a cafe. Maybe you're behind a desk or working abroad. Your mental image can reveal insights about what you'd like to do. Product or service? Do you want to make or sell products? Or do you see yourself delivering services? Would this be in person or online? There are lots of business ideas online if you want to run a virtual business. Do you like working with specific things like technology or cars, or do you love working with people or animals? This can guide your choice of small business ideas. And listen to compliments. What have people complimented you on in the past? Something that seems obvious and easy to you could be a skill that others are willing to pay for, such as copywriting, cake baking, IT support. Just because you can do it, it doesn't mean everyone else can. There are lots of business ideas based around specific skill sets. So what resources do you have available? Thinking big is brilliant, but you need to be realistic too. Think about the resources you have to make your business idea come to life. If you're short on cash, look for a business idea you can start with no money. Or look into whether it is realistic to get an affordable startup loan. If you want to explore the business idea that's right for you, then sign up with Learn Smarter or try a bossing business workshop.
And thank you very much to Tracy for that. Touch really briefly on just one of the things that Tracy mentioned there, which is looking at skills. I haven't talked at all about skills in the last 20, 25 minutes, because skills can be taught, skills can be learned. It's about thinking about how you would approach business and what type of business is right for you based on your approach to life, the universe, and everything. Skills can be learned. Lots of people and places and organization out there will give you the skills that you need to be able to run your business, and there is an untold amount of help there for you. Don't be put off up front by the skills part, because the skills part can be dealt with. What's important is finding the type of business that will work for you and knowing that making that commitment to get started is right. And that's all from me. It's time now for us to have a look at, see if there's any questions I can help you answer.
Hi, Suzy. Yeah, we've got a couple of questions that have come in, and just remind to all those on the call today, if you want to ask a question, please feel free to do so via the discussion forum or live Q&A. So our first question is, how will the business owner know their idea will work?
They won't. And I'm not being glib with that as an answer. You need to think about what your approach to risk is. So you can we've seen over the last few years that there are lots of businesses out there that seem like absolute givens, and actually for one reason or another they don't kind of come off right. It's about really identifying what suits you as a person. How committed are you to this? How realistic are your how realistic are your goals and aspirations, and how much testing can you do beforehand? So whatever you can look around at that might look or sound similar to things that you've done before will really give you an idea of what's going on. Make sure you're listening to what the world is telling you out there. So if you're objectively looking at a world in which is saying we can't do this, we can't afford this, this isn't right, you need to listen to that, as uncomfortable as it might be, because it will give you a really good lead on actually what's the right direction to go in.
Thank you very much, Suzy. And we have got another one here as well, which is, what is it like if your business does not succeed? What happens?
So businesses are kind of finite, and so there's lots of different versions of like not succeed, and that's kind of a relative term. So I don't really there's a lot of kind of publicity around things like business failure rates. Hate that term. Businesses start and businesses stop. Businesses begin and they close and they merge into other businesses. So none of that should really be considered as something that's a failure, something that's not successful. That's really unfair. Actually, some businesses are only right for a finite amount of time. The people who invented the SAT NAV, who I'm sure really don't like the people who invented Google Maps, will tell you that actually, like, that's not a mark of something that went wrong with that business. It was that just the world moved on and that technology wasn't needed anymore. I'm sure we could look back 100 years at a lot of things that existed and just aren't needed anymore. The important thing for you to think about as an entrepreneur is, what is your exit strategy for that business idea? So financially, how much can you tolerate before you have to make a decision to go off and do something else? And what is that something else? Do you have another business idea on backup? Do you have people maybe in your circle or people that you've worked with before who might be able to put some work of a different type your way? Or do you head back into employment, in which case, like, always keep half an eye on those markets to understand what's going on out there. How easy might it be for you to get a job? What's the market looking like for you? So some form of backup plan is always going to make you feel that little bit better. But please don't think that just because you're not going to run your business for 35 years, it means that your business isn't ultimately successful, because success is totally relative and really personal.